Ooh, hey girl, hey, happy Monday. I am so excited to be here with you for another Maven Monday to talk about all the amazingness that can, help us to be great. So if you don't know me, my name is Olivia Thomas. I'm the founder of Intentional Development Co. and the Busy Girls Brunch, here to help you go from flustered to flourishing and go from hustling to wholeness. I know that sometimes we get into the hustle of things, the hustle and the tussle. I'm sorry, the hands went up naturally. Um, and we don't realize that we're actually fighting against ourselves as we're trying to grow. Hustling is great. It's a beautiful beginning, but we can't stay there. So we go from hustling to wholeness through having an understanding of our operations, of our systems, and everything we need to grow. That's what I help you do. So every Monday, I like to bring on people to help you grow in other ways too. Today, we are talking to Lauren Wells of Hervival. I absolutely love that name so much, Hervival, who is your gut health bestie. She's here to help you to live a more abundant life from literally the inside out. So I'm going to bring her on the stage and have her introduce herself, and we can get into this conversation. I'm so excited. Hey, Lauren.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Girl, me too. So I already said my little spiel about you, and I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. I remember there's one thing that you told me a while ago that's like ringing in my head, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself before I even go to it. So please tell everyone about yourself.
I think I know that if you're talking about the three things, I know exactly what you're talking about. Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Wells. I am known as the Gut Health Bestie. I'm a certified digestive health coach and the founder of Hervival, which is all about holistic wellness and self-care. We're all about celebrating, elevating, and empowering women to prioritize their wellness and their self-care, utilizing mindfulness and gut health. And the thing that Olivia is probably talking about is that we keep it holistic, realistic, and simplistic. So we're really about meeting where women are and helping them on their path to take one step forward. We're all about changing the game when it comes to optimizing your overall well-being on a soul level. That's a bit about me and what I do. I've been at this for about 10 years, started off as a fitness trainer and expanded over into health coaching and realized that in order to have overall well-being more on a soul level, we got to get to the soul's needs of what's needed and prioritize our health from a bigger aspect as far as aesthetics. We can get to them, we can have them,
Yeah.
but we all talk about being able to have sustainable well-being long term. So I started getting into like more of the deep roots of things. And those deep roots really stems from gut health, pun intended, like in that way. I always say, as far as gut health is like our ecosystem, and we plant all our good seeds there in order to blossom and grow. So that's a bit about me.
I love that. Holistic, realistic, and simplistic is absolutely everything because it's literally everything. You want it to be whole, you want it to be real and simple because I think when we think about this idea of gut health, um, there's so much terminology, there's so much language, and it gets a little scary when we're like dealing with, ourselves and making sure that we're in the most healthy place and all those different kinds of things. But I also love that you talk about it from the soul level. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. The thing with me is that, like Hervival is all about reviving her mind, body, and spirit, getting out of the survival mode, right? That we're always in that hustle, bustle, get it, kind of vibe and everything, but really tend to like your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being, and your physical well-being in the space of reviving your mind, body, and spirit. So when I say on a soul level, it's literally in the cumbersome of all three of those things. I feel
Mm,
like how can you be able to evolve with your soul if your mental is not in good space, if your body
yeah.
doesn't feel good neither? So a lot of times when we think soul, we think just spiritual, right? But soul is
Yeah.
to me, and how I share and everything is a cumbersome of all three aspects where you like literally feel good to like your being.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so literally is like when we say optimal well-being on a soul level is more as marrying your identity to the whole and complete part of you. and who you are and what that feels like. So, and sometimes it's more about identity shedding, you know, like when I finally got to my space of feeling grounded with me, and it's always evolving and growing. I can't even believe the type of lifestyle I have now because I didn't grow up with it, you know, I would say we were very far removed from it.
Yeah.
And these things wasn't a part of like my lifestyle. So one of the things that we do within the Hervival community, I love seeing how the women naturally just grow and evolve and figure out what's one thing that they can take their one step forward when it comes to taking care of them and prioritizing their well-being and their self-care, and let their soul navigate that. Like, okay, this feels good. So it's more from a being state of feeling good that like matches you know, your own identity of where you feel good that you can connect to, and not because Instagram model did this, or, you know, this is something that I need to do to lose weight, but more about what feels good for you. That also meets the healthy needs, because of course, you know, when we're stressed, what feels good is a bottle of wine and, you know, like maybe about 3 Snicker
Brownies.
bars. But so let me rephrase that, because that used to be what feels good for me, but temporarily, but something on a sustainable standpoint.
I love that. Listen. Every now and then, I'm looking at my son. He likes to make brownies. I'm like, hey, buddy, you want to bake
Listen,
some
that's
brownies?
why I said holistic, realistic, because I have my like Sundays at times. That's when I have my little wine. Last night I had my brownies. I make my choice. We live the 80-20 rule over here. So I definitely am not against it. It's just more like, how can we start shifting that as far as being our
Yeah,
immediate go-to, especially when we're tense and stressed, is like, what are some other things that we can start to be able to do instead of
yeah,
reaching when we feel tense or stressed, that we make it hand to mouth and more hand to paper or hand to walking, or, you know, things like that, head to, you know, walking or other things, especially when we
yeah.
have unhealthy relationships with certain habits that impact our well-being, and then we can't be the superwoman that we would like to be out in the world.
Yeah, and then we're tired. Like there's just no
Mm-hmm.
energy to even pour out to anybody else because we're literally drained from the I don't know, survival existence that we've been living that just kind of like looks for immediate gratification, and then it just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
breaks
Yep.
us down little by little. Ooh, girl. And I think I love that you talk about sustainability, because I think if we do kind of like an elimination model, then that's not sustainable, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I need a Sunday. I need a some wine. I need like some brownies, whatever. And those things are allowed. And it's not that they
Mm-hmm.
are bad. It's just that they are not for all the time.
Yeah, it's like, because also too, like, you know, like I said, red wine is actually good for your heart, you know, in some capacity. Chocolate, like if it's like raw cocoa, like, you know, or like over 75%, that's also good too. So it's just a matter, but it's more about moderations. But also too, like when I say on a soul level, right?
Yeah.
There may be some type of romance thing that feels to you when you used to, somebody may have made brownies with their mom when they were young and their mom's no longer here, and they have that and it makes you feel good, you know. So those are some of the things.
Yeah.
But if we know that this isn't good to our health and our blood sugar, like I said, it's all about moderation. It's not a complete
Yeah.
X out restriction, unless that's a
Yeah.
choice that you truly choose, and more swap for a healthier one. Like, you know, those are things that we teach about a lot in our community. I have a workshop called Stop Meal Plan and Eat Smart, and it talks about making food swaps. So it's like, okay, we could
Yeah.
still have sugar, but maybe not white sugar. We actually have date sugar or honey or maple syrup, you know, things like that, instead
Yeah.
of the white sugar that's actually causing the health complications.
Yeah.
So it's
I
like,
love
we
it.
could
I
still have
love it.
sweets, but we could just have a different type that's not, you know. And also too, a lot of the healthier ones, you don't need as much, you know, because it's a lot more potent, all those things. So that's why I always tell people,
Yeah.
like, what are the ones that we love to do, and how can we swap or moderate?
I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about your framework. Like when you're walking people through the process of, becoming their own friend with their gut, as you are their gut health bestie. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I have a lot of educational pieces. So those are some of the things where I tell people to get the Stop Meal Plan and Eat Smart workshop. So a lot of times we invite them to download the Hervival app from the app stores and get acquainted with a lot of the resources that they have access to. We got workshops, we have master classes to get more into that. Also to join our community and asking questions. So we have our Facebook group. You know, some people are like, oh, I don't like downloading another app. I'm already on Facebook or whatever that meets, you know, the vote for people. So we have different spaces of community. So, and that's where women ask questions. This is how I learn of where women struggling with, where women have questions, where they maybe not having the energy, you know, what's their favorite snacks that got them in a chokehold, you know, and how can we swap that and stuff. Now I'm trying to learn how to help someone with their flaming hot Cheetos thing. I haven't got that together yet, but so like, you know, those are things for people who come in as far as our framework is downloading her Bible app, joining our email list. If you go to herbible.co/subscribe and get acquainted to the community as well as all the free resources that we have. But then sometimes women need more one-on-one support and maybe they're not on the journey to explore on their own. And they're like, hey, can you just sit with me? I have these specific things. I don't have time to absorb and learn the information. That's when they would book a consultation call with me and I could support them. And then from there, they will carry over to do like a gut health audit, you know, one-on-one with me. And will work with me with one of the, I have a Divine Women Power Plan that is intentionally focused on their gut health and their self-care plan.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Ooh,
more like
gut
a
health and
spiritual
self-care.
self-care plan.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I absolutely love that because it's so important. I think we don't necessarily think of our bodies as like the temple for the spirit in a way that we kind of like could. And it's like, well, you know, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So how do we like maintain and strengthen the flesh through our actual like our gut, like are actually taking care of it. And I know that the gut actually has a lot to do with our brain function as well. Can we talk a little bit about that too? Because it's like the flesh
That's
is
like my
willing and the
favorite
brain is
thing.
also like, girl, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's my favorite thing to talk about. And a lot of times people, you know, by some of the habits and the actions and things that we have, your gut and your brain are probably like frenemies. They're supposed to be friends, but you know, they may not be communicating. This is why we have brain fog. We don't have enough energy that's being stored. Focus could be a problem. Now, focus could be layers. I just feel like we're overstimulated with what's going on all over the internet. But because my gut was in pretty good, my gut and brain connected, and I struggle with focus problems. But anyway, I digress on that. But your gut and your brain, I literally talk about how it's called gut-brain axis, AXIS. So they communicate like bidirectionally. And they literally, I always say, like, your gut is like your power source, right? And it communicates to all of your major organs. So, you know, they literally send messages back and forth to each other. I'm hungry, or, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, oh, I don't have enough energy. Like your hormones are literally communicated from your gut. Your immune system is connected there. So this is why I always say, like, your gut is your ecosystem. It's your power source. You want to have more energy. Let's start looking at what's going on with the gut health. This is why I literally use it as such a hub, because I was like, this is the thing here. Because one, we need the brain to be able to communicate and function to your bodily organs back and forth in a much more effective way before we can get other stuff to kind of catch up. So that's like a quick crash course in the sense of like how the gut and the brain is communicated, and it communicates through, it's called a vagus nerve. It's the wandering nerve that communicates throughout your body, but it's basically like a two-way highway that communicates back and forth to each other. and then it'll send
I,
hormones, energy, all that stuff it needs to your body to operate the way it needs to.
girl, you better educate me. Like, I love I love that. So I mean, like, obviously there are no real like quick and dirty tips, right? To this, because it's all kind of like general maintenance and practice over time, and then the body changing with the maintenance and things like that. Um, but like, but what are some things that people should keep in mind as they are, beginning their gut health journey?
Yeah. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like as far as quick and dirty tips, it still is. Hydrate is super important. Veggies first. I mean, fruits first, veggies most is what I always talk about. A lot of times people start off breakfast with bacon, egg, and cheese, and all these starches and things that literally creates for you to crash. Your body does need sugar, right? But let's get it from fruits. So those are really good things to be able to do. So my quick and dirty tips are always that, like, get you some good, make sure you're hydrating, getting at least half of your body weight, especially first thing in the morning before we grab the coffees, before we grab all the other starches and stuff like that. One of the things when I work with my clients, I don't pry that stuff out of their hands first. I get the things in the front. Like I always say, like your water and your fruit is like the frontline workers. Let's get that in you first. And a lot of times they start subsiding the sugar cravings that they had over time because you're actually giving your body what it needs, and not what you feel like it needs, because literally it's not even communicating or operating off of energy, and you feel like you're tired and you grab coffee. It's dehydrated. It needs some sugar, but it needs more of like the fructose from fruit, that's easier to digest. Fruit is one of the quickest foods that digest the quickest. So that's one of my quick and dirty tips. And then, of course, always getting some form of probiotics. You can get them from food or supplement source.
Awesome. Awesome. Fruit first, veggies most. And
Every
hydrate.
meal, let's get those veggies, those dark leafy greens if you can. Chlorophyll, supplements are great too, because it's hard for us to even eat that much. So those are my things.
Seriously, I love chlorophyll. It's actually extremely helpful.
Yeah.
So of the people who like go through your programming, like who is the ideal person that you feel A needs this and B would be successful actually going through?
Yeah, so the women who I typically work with, and once they surrender, let me just say that, because it's those high level women. And a lot of us, we think we could do it on our own because we have done it on our own. We're very strong, we're self sufficient. But when it comes to taking the time to just pause and get help to support, those actually be the best women that does very well, because they finally realize I am amazing at everywhere else, but I need support just as much as we need a village. A lot of times we think we need a village, we think of the children, but we need a village too, grown adults. But the women who work really well as far as with the programs, especially working with me one-on-one, are the high level achieving women that are on the go and sometimes struggle with being able to balance taking care of themselves, and they need that support, not only as far as with the nutrition and wellness routine and taking care of their gut health, but also implementing a more self-care routine that supports their spiritual well-being. And when I say spiritual well-being, I mean more in an energetic space, not like religious or anything like that, but more as far as like doing the things that like your soul needs. Sometimes for some of those clients, it might be getting back to childlike things that felt joyful, and we just haven't had the time to like nurture our inner child again, things of that nature. Comes up for a lot, especially high level women. It comes up all the time. So more of those things. So I'm more of like an intuitive healer that implements these things into their self-care plan. But a lot of very on the go high level women caring for everyone else and need a true support guide to help them on their journey, whether they are looking to work with me one-on-one or even looking for a community of other women to support them. And that's when they become a member inside the Hervival community.
I love that. I absolutely love that. That resonates with me because I know there was a time when I had to up. My niece and nephew are at the door. Hold on 1 second, please.
Speaking of taking care of everyone.
Auntie, I was doing an interview. Can you go inside? With Mama. She is on the way back. She'll be right back. Everything good? No, I was well. And Auntie is back.
I'm a proud auntie of I think I lost count at 15, 16 kids. So
that's amazing. I think we're up to maybe 10 on both sides, girl. I love my little nibblings. They're my little people. And I don't know, I get to spoil them and give them back, unlike my own kids.
Yes,
so it's
that's why I love being an auntie.
It's so fun. Exactly. Seriously. Babies and pets, I just, and then it's great. So I love everything you're saying because as high performing women, right, we get really caught up in the idea of what success looks like, what it looks like to be, reaching for the stars and just living this astronomical life that we're going for, but we're not necessarily taking care of ourselves. And I think that's actually one of the biggest indicators and and sustainers of success.
Yes,
and I know for myself, girl, I know for myself, I started maybe the first 8 years of my business, just hustling and grinding and moving and a lot of motion. But maybe 3 years ago, it's when I was like, oh, I need to actually like myself and love myself and figure some things out. And I love what you said about sometimes it's the childlike behaviors that feed your spirit and just the energetics of it. Cause I had to make a list of things that I just like. Cause after a while, I didn't know what I liked.
Yeah, because you literally submerge your life into work that is in the forefront of your mind, and so hard to get back to what do you like outside of work. So yeah,
nothing.
You don't convince yourself that you like work. I mean, you do, but it literally starts to become where you get all excited because you made a new graphic, but you start to lose. And I'm saying this because I personally know you get all excited, you build a landing page or whatever, in your business, your work becomes your life that lights you up, especially when you're heart-centered and you're very passionate into your work and that becomes your life. It's very, very vital and important that you separate something totally outside of that space, because it can absorb you, and then you realize and this is where my clients come into place, where they lose track of them and what makes them happy, or other things to do outside of stuff that still operates around work. The time they're supposed to take off, they're still working. And it's because we lose that track of ourselves and just free things that doesn't get caught. And I'm saying from personal experience too, I've developed a whole business around my lifestyle and things that I love and enjoy, but I definitely have to make sure I have time where I'm just doing the things that feel good to me and not recording to say this is, because the lines can get crossed, and just doing it for me without sharing, posting about it and talking about, hey, these are good things to do for your lifestyle, it's very easy to do that. Oh my gosh. And it's so many women all the time, they lose that, they forget that. And I think what powerhouse women need to know is you get recharged with more power when you're recharging yourself. So when you get back into the joys of things that you truly enjoy to do, let me tell you, and this is where I share about gut health, the things I talk about gut health isn't fully nutrition wise, it's energetic wise. When you are having good joy, your body is sending certain happy hormones, endorphins, that comes from your gut. So when you're happy and you're joyful and you're smiling, these things start to release from your gut to your brain, and you have this excitement and this joy. And when we feel good, we attract good. You know, we get more excited, and sometimes that's when we get those downloads. Like, how many times, I'm sure, Olivia, you were out just having fun, and then just this aha moment that helped you in your business or something comes about. I've had clients
Yes.
that worked with me and got 3 promotions because the work that we've been doing helped them expand, and they presented something, or it helped them with a pitch or something that they've grown in. I've seen that
Yeah.
multiple times working with them. It's because they get back to joy and feeling good, that they can easily
Yeah.
operate effectively.
I love that, because it's so true. We're so expansive, but only when we allow ourselves to be that way. If we just stay
Mm-hmm.
within the simple vertical of production and not like consumption with care, then
Mm-hmm.
we can only be producing from a place of not necessarily of lack, but like there's just kind of like no new inspiration to actually go into the things that we're putting out into the world. So it becomes very monotonous, and it just kind of is what it is. Like, creativity is the intersection of unrelated ideas, but we don't
Yes.
get those unrelated ideas if we're not out in the world actually like experiencing joy and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
It gets it
girl.
like it's a sign. It sometimes people think, oh, it's so woo woo and stuff like that, and I'm all like, with the woo woo, but it's actually scientific in a sense when you do start to kind of study and understand and learn, what the body and the hormones and the energetic space, and how clarity starts to come into certain thoughts and things. Like, it literally kind of like ignites your brain
Yeah.
to start getting
Yeah.
into this creative space. And when you're in, why do you think people who are more artistic and creative, they get into this space of exploring? You know what I mean? And a lot of times when us who are high level women who are working there, that part of your brain starts to get closed down a little bit, and we're not in this free
Yeah.
flowing creative space that can explore at times. So it is important to kind of keep that window open. And the way I've found that is by one, taking care and clearing your gut health so the communication can go back and forth to each other from your gut
Yeah.
and your brain. And then also implement a more self-care spiritual plan in a space
Yeah.
that, from that soul level, like I talk about optimal being on a soul level, to really ignite that part where you could, be more free flowing in that space. So it's been amazing to see. It kind of blows my mind at times where I see and they're like, oh my God, guess what? I got a promotion. Or, oh, we just launched this thing, or I'm a co-partner with this now. And it's like so cool. And I'm like, oh, like, it all started from like cleaning up their gut health. And a lot of times the women too, when you
Yeah.
ask who are my ideal clients, there are women who do know that something's not right. Like, their gut health, they have, not sleeping or tired, but they go to the doctors and nothing's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, literally that shows up a lot of the
Mm.
time. I typically work with a lot of women who have like hormone problems, PCOS, autoimmune. I'm a autoimmune warrior too. Autoimmune, and like, it doesn't really show up when you go to the doctors and things, because I mean, unless it's like chronic pain and you have medication.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of times, and science hasn't really fully backed it up thoroughly fully yet. I'm just, as a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm just giving my own personal story, my client stories as well. So always seek and speak to your doctors. I'm definitely the co-pilot with our clients' doctors. But those are the things that it amazes me when I start seeing that certain clients that I didn't even know they drew, or they were painters, and they started getting back to it. Like, they was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I just woke up one day and I felt creative. I'm like, huh, no wonder. So it's just certain parts of your brains that start to evolve, that starts and stems from your ecosystem, your gut.
I love that. I love that. It's like they're unblocked suddenly, and they can do
Mm-hmm.
the things that were previously just like almost foreign to their bodies at that point, because they just didn't have it in them. And I have this interesting theory about for me, I'm gonna say for me, I would overeat because I wanted to feel the pain of overeating, and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the pain of like whatever was happening in life. So it became
Mm-hmm.
a distraction.
Yep.
Um, so that I didn't have to deal with other things. But when I started, and I used to say to my husband, like every night, like, oh man, mistakes were made, like, because I felt it. And one day he was like, if you're saying it every night, is it a mistake? And I'm like,
Mm.
sir,
Mind your business.
mind your business. Nobody asked you. But he was right. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, like this isn't a mistake. This is something that I'm purposefully doing to myself every night. And then I made a change. And then as I was changing, I had to start dealing with like my real life feelings. Ew. And then B, I had so much more room and energy to explore life.
Mhm.
It's like not only am I making this list of things that I like and dislike, but I can move toward them because
Mhm.
there's something like I'm not like weighing myself down physically, like with the pain of ignoring what my gut needs.
Yeah.
um I can actually hear myself think, so I can actually move toward the things that I love. And girl, I haven't been your client yet, but I'm just saying, like
Well, one, I want to say a blessing to your husband by someone who was like, open, and you were open enough to receive, to call you out on that. Because there's a
yeah,
lot of women who are out there that don't have that type of support and accountability to kind of call
yeah,
that out. And even like with working with me, like I mean, thankfully, all of my clients over these years, I still have 2 clients. We're on year 10. I've been
awesome.
thankful that they feel safe enough to, I don't really have that problems. But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, you have to be totally open and honest with you. And that takes courage too. Because there's like, I used to binge eat as well. And I didn't realize or knew what that was, and it was just a lot of times just being fixated and busy, just kind of like eating and crunching on things to kind of slow
Yeah,
down the thoughts and stuff. So it does go deep in some way, but that is really amazing that you have that type of support from your husband to point that out, because there's so many women that are still out there operating, and no one kind of points that out. And then you don't realize that that's a challenge, because most, like I said in the beginning, when you said who's your ideal clients, women who are ready to surrender.
mm,
If they're not
yeah,
ready, like, I don't, that's why I don't work well with women who are just like, I just need something to lose 20 pounds. And I'm like, well, why you keep recycling the same 20 pounds? Like, or I lost it and I gained it back. And that's what I said. It's way more than just this weight loss challenge. Or I've even came across clients that, like I said, I've been out here 10 years, got surgery and gained it back still, because it's
mm,
like that stuff. There's a book, everyone, I really would love for people to even look at or go download the PDF review, book review or something, called The Body Keeps the Score. Bessel, Bessell, her Vander Kolk, Kolk, something like that. That the energetic things of like what we go through, and what we kind of rush through and ignore, it'll come back.
mm,
It keeps coming its way back around, for us to deal with, because just like you said, our body is a temple. And if we
yeah,
keep praising everything outside of this temple within you, that is supposed to connect to whatever higher, this is beyond even religion, but whatever is higher power of belief that you truly feel for yourself.
yeah.
How can you have even gut instincts if your gut don't even trust you and don't even communicate to your brain? So this is joke, but I mean, it's true. I hate to say it that way, but for real, like I tell people all the time, how can you trust your gut? Your gut don't even trust you, because we tend to abuse our temple. And I'm speaking from, because I used to do that. I thought working out, I started getting into this journey a little more. Everybody has their way to get into it. It could be depression, it could be a death of someone, like grief, it could be fitness. That was mine. I started getting into working out, and then all these other things started to be a need. That's why I said mind, body, spirit, they all got to be on the table,
Yeah.
because when you work on one, you do get pulled to different ways. However, one thing can be worked at a time. So everybody has their different way of what needs to be worked on. It could be digestive issues and stomach problems, that they start taking care of that, and then we open up in other avenues. But I always say to people, like, if this is your temple or your hub and we only get one, we can go and lay on tables and fix it and do all these things. You can literally reconstruct a whole body, but at the end of the day, what did I talk about? Optimal being on a soul level. You get one body that your soul hosts, no matter what the shape of what it looks like. So I love what you say. Like, we become health averse. Before we started this, a lot of us are health averse for a certain body type that we realize, and if we that we trying to achieve. And if we start really focusing more on what feels good, like genuinely to your soul. And sometimes it's hard to get there because we got so much pain that we just put on top of it. And this is what I love when my clients or I work, I get clients from therapists. I love tag teaming because these are the things that can be all worked out together. And, we just collab together. Like one of my most successful clients in that short time I talked about with the 3 promotions, I think it was like in 4 months, something like that. And she lost like 30 something pounds, like all of these amazing things. She like finally added me to her team of support, the village. She had her doctors who suggest certain things. Because I always tell people, like, when people ask, well, why would I pay for a health coach when I could just use my insurance and work with a nutritionist? A nutritionist will tell you what you need to do, but then you just look at it and stay with it. No one helps you with the habits or hold you accountable to keep with it. That's where a health coach like myself would be able to come in and help and support, in that way, for what the doctors would say or do. So, sometimes we do need that support, whether it's one-on-one or in a group. Like, find your tribe in every way. So yeah, I'm gonna get off my soapbox with that, but I always talk about that. Like, how are we supposed to be like guided and listening to our inner thoughts and selves when it don't trust us? It don't trust our body because we abuse it or we neglect it.
Girl.
And I from my own experience. So I'm like, okay, this is why thoughts don't come clear to me, because I haven't been taking care of myself the way I should, and get back to that. So it's frustrating at times. Let me tell you, if I could figure out a quick one pill thing and something that just do the work for us, I will be a multi-million jillionaire. But
okay,
not the truth. We still got to be able to do the work that we got to do to help ourselves.
I mean, that's not it yet. Now we have to actually, like you said, be ready to submit to the process and actually change as people, which takes time and dedication and
yeah, it's no rush
and
process.
being there.
Yeah,
Man,
it's no rush process, but I will say, and I have to pop my collar a little bit, we get results pretty quick. We work with me. So go ahead, go to hervival.co. Come to Death Row. No, I'm just playing. We get results pretty quick. Most of the women who work with me, we get things popping over here. But like I said, you do got to surrender and be willing to take yourself on, and you don't have to do it alone.
I love it. Excellent. I love that. Listen, and having a health team is such a big deal. Like, you see your doctor once a year, in the best of times, God willing, and all of your other doctors, because we, have a full panel of things that we have to get checked out as women. But then what? You know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily have anybody, like, not even necessarily like holding your hand, but just like really there in the fight with you as you're going through. And I know one of the things that we're always constantly doing is, like, we're changing our beliefs and behaviors about everything all the time. And if we're like constantly reparenting ourselves, like, it is beneficial to have somebody, cheering us on and giving us like really good, solid information and like actually being there with us during the process. So, like, man, listen.
I always say, like, I'm like the wellness and self-care provider, and more on an ongoing basis. Because like you said, you only see your doctor once a month or when you have the challenges. So hopefully a lot of times when clients come and work with me prior, we extend that you only need to go once a year and get the thumbs up that you're doing good, and that's one of the things I can pride myself over the years. I love where I have clients that I had a client who had a heart attack, you know, and was on a lot of
Mm.
medication. And after we took some time and did some work, doctor took her off and was like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, those are the things that fulfills me and just kind of like keep me going, because this work isn't easy. You know, it's
Yeah.
hard because sometimes people stumble and don't make the choice for themselves, and I have to watch that at times.
Yeah.
And even, you know, keep the practice for myself. But I love that because it's like we can get into the preventative measures or extend or try to reverse, you know, certain things that can happen. But I look at myself as more like a wellness and self-care provider.
Yeah.
As you work with like your mental health provider and your health provider, you know, and you need a team. Like, that's your village.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You do. It's so serious. I am. Yeah, you do. Um, Girl, you have said so much. It really is the how can you trust your gut if your gut doesn't trust you? Like I'm still a little bit blown
Clutch the
away by
pearl.
that phrasing. Like you're right. Like why this is there's no reciprocity in this relationship if like you're
Mm.
just like throwing stuff at your gut and you're just like I'm going to trust you, even though I'm not properly giving you the tools you need for me to be able to trust you. Like you can't trust me. So how am I supposed to trust you? That is such a big deal.
I'm gonna use that, Olivia, with the reciprocity, because that makes me just think
Do
like,
it.
I know for me, like when I tell y'all, I know we can't talk all about it here, but when my story, I was not living this lifestyle. I was not working out. I worked out twice in college because I was trying to find a new boyfriend when I broke up with somebody, and I was tipsy on one of the nights. I'm just gonna share that. But when you say reciprocity, it just makes me think about like you're being abusive to like your boyfriend, you know, which is like your gut and stuff. But
Yeah.
also your gut health bestie to make sure you got a good marriage going on over there. Like,
It's like yeah, marriage counseling for you and your gut. Like that's
for your gut.
heavy. Like come on, friends. That is so good. Oh my gosh, I love it. Girl. All right. So one day we're gonna have to get into your story because like I actually do want to hear your story. I don't think we've really talked too much about that. Um ooh, yeah, all right. Maybe another time. Okay, so how do you actually know? Can you share a little bit of your story? Because I know,
Um,
like, how did you
all
get
right,
into
let's see if I can get
how
this
did you get
down in
here?
like a good 1 minute. So, yeah, I wasn't into health, wellness, fitness, none of that stuff. I'm a Taurus, and they always say Taurus are super greedy, and that's very right. That's one, you know, thing that I would say that's very true. I always
She
ate
said,
a
I
lot.
am bullheaded, girl.
Yes, bullheaded. I love to eat. Never thought about what I ate. When I did start thinking about health, it was just because I was like, why is my face and my stomach swelling so much?
Yeah.
Um, and I started to like get bigger and clothes and stuff in college, but I really wasn't worrying too much about that, but more like
Yeah.
what's happening. Like my face and my stomach started getting swollen. And I still ignored it. So that's why I said I totally get where people just kind of bypass and ignore it. I didn't start really getting into this lifestyle until I actually had thyroid problems. So just to give a quick rundown,
Mm,
I had thyroid problems, I had gut health problems, leaky gut. I started having chronic pain, and it wasn't until I ended up becoming a fitness trainer, and it was more because I graduated during that 2008 market crash, living in New York City. The jobs wasn't jobbing, and it wasn't making any money, and I was like, I'm not going back to school. I don't know what. I'm going to the military. Enlisted into the military. That's when I got into fitness because I had to pass the test. Long story short, I got an injury right before I was supposed to ship out, and the only thing I kept with that was fitness. So I didn't know. I had to get back into the corporate world, figuring stuff out. But fitness was like my only way to help throughout the depression of still feeling stuck, not making money, living in New York City. And
yeah.
then as I started to work out and do everything, I started to just pay attention to my body more. And like I said, I'm having all these chronic issues that's happening now. Because once like I started I'm chronically depressed, through life changes. And now I'm like working out too. So I'm like trying to work on my body, but having these problems. And my hair was falling out, I was getting body acne. I took care of like the weight thing, but I didn't understand what was happening. So initially around 2010, 11 or whatever that was, that's when I kind of realized, okay, I think this is a little bit more than this fitness stuff, because I'm working out. Now my diet could have been better, of course. I kind of thought I worked out, I can eat what I want, but why am I having this chronic pain and these other issues? Because over time I did clean up my diet and I was still having problems. So that's how I started having, understanding a little more about hormones and gut health. I switched a little bit more coming out of like the fitness so much and the aesthetics of that, and more into hormones and gut health and, digestion, to heal the chronic pain I was having, because I was given a script and was told I had to take it for the rest of my life. And I was like, I don't want to take this for the rest of my life. So I literally from the time the prescription was given to me, I converted over to more of a holistic wellness approach. And I haven't looked back. I've been medication free, living a lot of pain free, all those things, with a lifestyle change that had to go beyond just fitness, because I just thought if I work out, I can eat what I want. And that wasn't the case. So that's a bit about me, my story, my bouts of depression and gut health problems, hormone problems, and the shift from just fitness to holistic wellness.
I love that. I love that. And it's so important to kind of even think about this idea of like some diseases are much more about chronic dietary issues than they are like external factors. Like it's really what you're bringing inside.
For me, it was gut health issues and stress, chronic stress.
Yeah. Man, that is heavy. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Like I had no idea, like military, and then that's a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah, large life shift. I think that, like 20, how old are you when you graduated college? 24, 25, something like that. I had like a whole quarter life crisis. Imagine going to college and you get out and the market, all that was going on in 2008. Like, it was just like, what? People couldn't even get jobs. Like, it was just a mess.
It was a time. It was absolutely ridiculous. So I just, I feel you. I can't even. So in the midst of all this, right now, you're currently working and you're helping other people take care of themselves. How are you taking care of yourself?
Yeah. So, luckily I did revolve my business around lifestyle. So it's a constant reminder for me. But I literally do not, I prioritize my morning routine. I do not operate for anyone else in my first maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours of the day. I spend a lot of that time, journaling, just slow pacing myself and easing into my day. And I also have I was working out and stuff from home, but I just upgraded and took the privilege of getting myself a bougie gym because I just feel like it has everything I need. I can work, I can do everything. So I've been very well committed to my fitness in that way, and figured out, okay, I self-assess a lot. That's one of the things I would say I do, of like scaling, like, okay, how am I mentally? What am I doing there? I'm very faithful with my therapy. How am I, physically? Am I doing all right? And I need some work. What do I need to do? So I'm always having conversations with myself, and I have my own wellness team. So, like I said, I have my therapist, I have coaches that I facilitate and I work with, practitioners. I work with different practitioners for certain seasons of time, for like if I need anything that comes up. Now I know how to maintenance, but I've always had different support teams and everything to help me, practitioners that are holistic practitioners that I work on my own. So yeah, I've always had my own team to support me.
I love that. I feel like that's kind of the big message. Like, you need a team. Like, it's okay to put it down. You don't. Yeah, like it takes the village to one of my clients used to say, it takes a village to raise her. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and it just doesn't stop. I mean, here's the thing though, and what anybody who listens to this, I think sometimes when it comes back to taking care of ourselves, just think about, especially us high level women, how many we are a village to everyone else. Somewhere there's a disconnect, and I just think, especially in the culture of Black and brown women, we don't see that village being when it comes to taking care of ourselves, because we hear self and self-care, but sometimes we need people to help us get to ourselves, to make sure that we're doing the things to take care of ourselves when we're out there doing everything for everyone else. So that's why I said, like, I'm here and telling everyone I got my own people to make sure I'm staying on top of that. Like, you know, my village was the one like, okay, well, what are we doing if you're struggling in this area? And that's when I was like, all right, it's time for me to go ahead and upgrade, you know, to get a better gym for myself, because I'm not staying. I've grown out this space. So that's the goal, is really wanting where women can show that, because I feel like, especially like I said, a lot of the women who I work with are high level, they run a business or they're dualpreneur, and they will prioritize their funds, their money, and everything into business, and thinking because it gives that dollar ROI, but then they don't take care of themselves, and then they burn out before they can work on all what they spent $10,000 for to get the strategy to build the business, and don't have it, you know, have the energy or the just the endurance mentally and physically to like move forward. They burn out before they can even really get started. So I'm like, what would have been the better investment, you know, at the end of the day? So yeah.
I spend a lot of time on the phone with clients after we do the work. Just kind of encouraging, but I recognize that there's the general deeper issues of what it looks like to actually take care of yourself and then to continue developing, right? Because it's like, again, if your gut can't trust you, right? Like you're not really taking care of yourself foundationally. So when it comes down to like this idea of putting your whole self into this early and earnest part of a business where it takes up a lot of your energy, your mental capacity, like everything you have for a while is the investment. But if you kind of don't really have anything, if you're not replenishing your energy to actually do this, like you don't even have the strength to fight the demons that are like coming at you, telling you can't do it. This isn't for you. You're not that girl. Like any of the things that are happening. Cause I feel like those are the things that happen, when you're starting the thing. Like every bad thing you've ever heard about yourself, what do they call them? Limiting beliefs. Like all of those things get like
imposter syndrome,
right. Yeah, they get really loud. And like if you foundationally like really don't have it to even to get in there and box, like it's very hard to sustain.
Yeah. That's what the things, like, you know, when I do speak or come into a lot of like business women who support, you know, the high level achieving women, like would ask me to come in and speak on these things, because like you said, when you put yourself out there, you know, those thoughts get louder. You'd be so surprised of like the high level women that have these challenges that happens behind the scenes, you know, that shows up, and it don't look like it out there because we good at putting a good mask on. But those are the things that I think is really important to, you know, take care of, where you can be able to sustain that energy for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Lauren. Okay. So if people want to work with you, I mean, you've said it a couple of times, like A+ for all the plugs you put in. I love that. If you want to work with you, if people want to find you on the internet, if people want to just like, I don't know, hear about you, where should they go?
Yes. So you can go to my website at Hervival, HERVIVAL.co.com. And then if you do want to work with me, you want to learn more about these Divine Women Power Plans that I talked about, you can easily just text Power Plan to 646-787-1230. and you can learn
Awesome.
more about the power plans.
Awesome. Yo, you are I love you so much. Like I think the work that you're doing, and I've said it before, like I think the work that you're doing is just like so incredibly important just because like so much of the hustle culture that we've been fed over the last like decade has been it's been toxic. And we
Yeah.
need to be able to literally metabolize it, right? So without the work that you're doing, I think that people can't even necessarily get to the places that they need to be in order to grow properly, right? And like produce and reproduce at a in a way that is going to be healthy for themselves. It's like it makes me think of like when you go to the chiropractor and they tell you that if your body is um like disorganized, your cells are
Mm-hmm.
going to reproduce disorganized like consistently. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like until you get to the foundation and fix the things, like you're only going to reproduce disorganized. And I feel like your work is helping people to do something else and build on on a solid foundation and just be great. Listen, yep. Thank you for your
Yeah.
work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I love when I see, more women getting it, appreciating it. I think we're like the first generation because a lot of us too, we're like the few or probably the only generation that's trying to achieve at this high level, right? Because I
Yeah,
mean, if you take not even a whole century ago, women weren't starting businesses, and building and, we were homemakers more and stuff like that, which is some of that goes into just taking care of everyone else except ourselves. So like, we're
yeah,
literally being the first generation that is the high achieving, but also need to learn how to take care of ourselves. So I appreciate, women like you that's even, wanting to have me to come on and speak. I love everything, what you do with Win Intentionals and the grit, the grace and the gratitude. Like it's just such a combine of what I advocate for and share. And I just think it's important to have these conversations ongoing to just shift. And if we see more women as a whole that
yeah,
is embracing that, and then even more as women of color, let's talk about diversity and inclusivity as far as like who looks like us within our age realm, things like that. Because I know when I started to see people take care of themselves, it was like once they retire, or after they didn't drag themselves out. So it's like, no, I'm not waiting until I didn't gave my all and then, retire. So I just think it's important that it becomes a more ongoing conversation and people share their own personal journeys of how they're
yeah,
exploring it. Because like I said, you come into this walk of life in so many different directions.
yeah,
And then you start realizing the how other people are kind of exploring and learning it on our own too. And there's so many different ways, which is why I love our community, because I love seeing the women in there finding different stuff, or hey, have y'all heard of this, or oh, look, I'm trying that, because they're starting to be more things that can support us to have our foundation.
excellent, excellent. Ah, Lauren, girl, I could literally just keep talking to you forever. But I'm gonna let you go.
No, I really, this was like the power hour of the end of the evening on a Monday. Because I'm sure everybody's like Monday is like woo. So this was definitely the power hour that I enjoyed the conversation, and I hope that this really connects with other people. Like I said, these conversations are so needed. So thank you for the work that you do, and appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. Seriously. All right, lady. You have a good evening.
All right, thank you.
Oh my gosh, Lauren is amazing. So thank you all for being here, for all your comments, for all your just like attention in this matter. I know that if you want to grow in your business, it's so important to take care of yourself, to have a growth mindset, not only about the work that we're doing, but about ourselves and making sure that we're good. If we're not good, there's kind of no point in doing the rest of this stuff. So please take your body, take your life, take your health seriously. Seriously, please do. If you want brand strategy or business modeling, I will put my stuff in the comments. And I'm happy to work with you to build your life and your legacy to flourish without shame and just be an uninterrupted masterpiece. Until next week, I will see you in the group, guys. Have a great night. Bye.